One. Hey, everybody, and welcome to A Conversation with Friends. I am Mama D, your hostess. My guest this evening is Alan Wright. Now, Alan is, as I said on Facebook Live, he's an author, he's a paranormal investigator. He just does about everything, so I figure the best way to describe him is the way I describe anybody who does more than one thing in a light community. He's a healer. He can heal your mind, your body, and your soul. And by doing that with the stories and with his personality rocks the world. So, Alan, welcome to welcome to the show once again, and thanks for agreeing to come on.
Well, thank you, Mama D. I'm really happy to be on your show today. I was looking forward to it.
Well, we always have fun. I'm going to tell people in the chat room to refresh. If I can remember how to spell, I'll be good. That's why I'm on radio and not in print. So for those people who didn't hear the last show you were on and don't know you, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona in 1949. I lived there most of my life. Met my wife there. We got married. We moved up here to Utah in 2012, I think it was, 2013. Mm-hmm. And this is where I started writing my books. I've always had my abilities since I was born. As I get older, though, my abilities become stronger. They're becoming stronger all the time. Even since I started writing my books, I went on a astral projection in 1983, and I saw my grandfather, who had died in 1982. And after this astral projection, it seemed like my abilities even became stronger. And anyway, I used to consider myself a passive medium. Passive medium is a person who the spirits can contact and talk to them and relay messages to that medium, and then he can relay the messages to whoever is in front of him at that time. I did not have the ability to call out a spirit per se. But since then, since 2015, I've been able to I consider myself a spiritual medium now. I'm able to basically call upon a spirit if a person wants me to contact, say, one of their loved ones who has passed. I'm able to do that. Anyway, that's basically it. I've written 7 books so far. They're published. I'm on my 8th book right now, which should be out in a month or 2. That's about all I can say. I've been busy since I've been in Utah.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Okay. Your first book that you wrote. Let's give people a little bit of background information on you. That was Through the Veil and Back.
Yes.
Yes, I have that one. Now tell everybody a little bit about that one. Where did the inspiration come for you to start writing? Why was that the first book?
Well, I wanted to, my wife said, will be 70 years old this coming April. And my wife told me back in 2015, or she's been hounding me, that I should write a book and put all my experiences in them, because I've been telling her some of the things that happened, some of the things that I can do, and she knew some of the things that I could do. Anyway, she said I should write a book and kind of leave it for my friends and family. And so anyway, I really didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know a publisher. I didn't really know how to do it, but things worked out where I was able to get a hold of a publisher on my first book, and I was able to write that book. The inspiration came from when I went and saw my grandfather in that astral projection in 1983.
Okay.
And actually, in this projection, I saw my own death. I was able to see the Earth from outer space. I went into the light, just like I had a near-death experience. But I wasn't near death. I wasn't even sick. But I went into this light, and let me tell you, this light that I went into was love and mercy and charity and all the good emotions. And as I went further into the light, I realized it was coming from this being, this person that was in front of me. And he was sitting upon this large stone. And he was all dressed in white. He was in a robe. He had sandals. And he had long hair and a beard. And this light was coming from him. And it just was marvelous for me to have this happening to me and have it be coming from this person, from this being. He portrayed himself to me as God, as Jesus. I was raised as a Baptist in a Baptist church, and I was taught these things from childhood. I don't know if American Indian would have the same thing happen to them that I had, but I'm sure whatever it was would be a good thing for them also. I blacked out. At least my memory was erased or something, because I do not remember another thing until I woke up inside this metal.
Okay.
This metal, and it had tall grass, and I was laying in this grass, and when I came to, I could hear water in the background, and I could hear animals and stuff there was a forest next to this metal, and I could hear animals and stuff, the birds chirping and stuff in this forest. And there was flowers also in this field, and they were of a really brilliant colors. And anyway, I stood up, and when I stood up, I found myself in a circle of people. And these people I realized, were my friends and relatives who had passed on before me. And but my attention was to my grandfather. And he was standing directly in front of me. And we expressed love for each other, but it was done telepathically. I felt like I could speak if I wanted to, using my voice, but I didn't have to. And he spoke to me telepathically also. And the last thing I remember in this projection was him and I was walking along this path that was next to this forest, and he was telling me things. And when I woke up again in the morning, I felt like I was only gone maybe, 7 hours, however long I was supposed to sleep. And I woke up like I had just seen God, like I stood before God. I felt like I was glowing, and that feeling stayed with me for a long time. Well, the thing itself, the projections, has stayed with me since 1983, and I can remember it just like it was yesterday. And so it was kind of a life-changing experience. And like I said, ever since then, my abilities have even become stronger. So I've also, along the way, from this experience, I received bits and pieces of knowledge and information that I must have got while I was on this projection. And I felt like I was only there a few hours when I first came back.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But I'm beginning to think I was there longer. I could have been there. I'm beginning to think I was there for maybe a couple of years, because the information that I have received is something that I could not have received in just a few hours or a couple of days. My books that I write, a lot of that information is in my books. But also along the way, my wife and I lived in a haunted house. We lived in a haunted house for about 3 years. We've dealt with spirits. The apartment we live in right now has 2 spirits in it. We feel an older gentleman that died before we rented the place, and but they're kind of neutral. They don't bother us any. Once in a while, they'll become mischievous and turn on our kitchen lights or back porch lights or front porch lights, or turn them on. They play with the electrical stuff pretty much, but it's not, anything bad, so we leave them alone. They leave us alone.
It's like childish mischief. It's nothing major.
Yeah, right. Pretty much so. But I've had opportunities to heal the sick and people that was near death. I've also had I'm an empath, so, and Lori's an empath. She has pretty much the same abilities that I do. And that's good because if I was married to someone who could not understand me, it would be difficult. The marriage would be under a strain all the time, I think.
Yeah, it's difficult when you have to explain to people what you're feeling, what you're going through, and what the connection is that you're getting. So yeah, it's always great to have somebody who you don't have to explain things to.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, unfortunately, go ahead.
I did over 40 radio shows last year, and some of these shows were call-ins, and the people, I did many readings on several of them, and sometimes it got kind of hairy for us because when you do a reading for somebody, the spirit actually comes in.
Yeah.
And we're in our bedroom, and I did a reading for this one gentleman, and the poor guy, I think his whole family has passed pretty much. Okay. And by the time I was done with him and conveying the things that his relatives wanted me to say to him, our whole bedroom was full of people. And I asked Lori, I said, "Did you see that?" And she goes, "Yeah." She said, we had spirits all around our bedroom here. It filled up our bedroom. But after the reading was over, of course they left. And but that's it's been exciting at the same time. I know I enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure Lloyd does too. What's that? Oh yeah, I'm also a co-host, and he is too, a co-host on Crossover Connections, which is on Saturday afternoon.
You'll have to make sure that you give me the link so that we can share it on Facebook. We can't do it here because you're on the phone and I'm on another computer. Okay, just a quick mention to everybody in the chat room. If you have any questions, type them into the chat room and we can ask the questions. I have a guest in the chat room, and guest, if you want to comment in the chat room, if you want to type in term, you're just going to have to sign up with IntuiTalks. It takes all of 3 minutes, and then you can chime in any questions that you have, any comments that you have. Of all the things that you do, Alan, which is the thing that you like to do the most?
You know, when I do a reading for somebody, usually, since I consider myself a spiritual medium, the spirits that come to me are the ones that have been the loved ones of the people that, you know, that they're coming to relay a message to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, the spirit is very close when they come up next to me. I've had them sit right beside me, and it's so close it's almost like they're in me. And when that happens, it's almost like it's a spiritual connection. If it was, it's almost, well, it is very spiritual.
Yeah.
And especially when you can relay a message to somebody that hasn't had anything from their loved one for, you know, since they've been alive, you know, since they've been dead. And I've had that happen many times where I've told the person that their loved one wanted me to tell them certain things, and it was only them that knew about those things.
Yeah.
And so they knew that I was talking to their loved ones, you know. So it's very spiritual for me. And the next thing is healing. If I'm able to heal somebody from a sickness or whatever, that too for me is very spiritual. It's kind of different because you're connecting with the sick person's spiritual. You know what I mean? So kind of different. You're not like the middleman in that one. You're connecting directly to the sick person or the person that needs to be healed.
Yeah. Now, you've done paranormal investigations. You've done investigations of public and of private venues, right?
Well, not really. I don't go out with a team or anything like that and go in for ghost hunting. I'm really not into that, and the reason being is I feel that those ghosts are spirits, and they had bodies just like you and I at one time, and I really don't think that it's a good thing to go in and disturb them. There's also spirits in there that could be pretty bad. Some of them are evil. You could even pick up a bad attachment and bring it home with you. There's a lot of things that can happen on these things. And unless you're physically and spiritually ready to do that, it's best that you don't. I know a lot of these ghost hunters, after a while, it becomes, it hurts them health-wise. Yeah. They get sick in certain ways. They might start having heart problems or lung problems. And to me, that's picked up from what is called dead energy, I believe. Yeah. And that dead energy from those ghosts is not good. So I have been in places. I have had the opportunity to cast a ghost out of a house in California of a friend of mine. It was evil. I could tell it was evil by the energy that was given off. Plus, it made itself, it pretended to be a baby and would cry like a baby up in one of the bedrooms upstairs. Okay. And it wasn't a baby. It was an entity. It was a spirit of some form. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to cast it out. I was told later it was a good thing that I was able to do that because he could have very well attached himself to me.
Yeah.
I could have brought him back home with me, but I consider I I feel have a force around me of protection,
Well,
and
I think that's one of the things now with the what I call the newer teams is that most of them have learned. Some of the old teams were just like go in and get to it, and let's do this, and
yeah,
gung ho. But now a lot of the teams they prepare themselves. They say their prayers and they cleanse themselves before and
exactly.
after, and they make sure that they do that. Here we go. They do make sure that they're protected and they're covered. Because I've heard some not so nice stories about attachments that people have had to deal with, but but it's something that we do. I think it's something that all people of spiritual connection have to do, because even though like for me, I'll speak with my angels and my guides, and I know that they're positive, but there's always that possibility that something negative will try and come, and connect. And so you just sort of have to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah,
You do your prayer, you do your staging, you do whatever that makes you comfortable, and including, a bubble and protection. So,
meditation.
yep, meditation. Get yourself. I did a meditation once when I got my very first tattoo. I'm kind of allergic to pain, so I did a deep meditation, and I felt no pain except for the time that she got a little bit close to the bone. I was like, oh, okay, I felt that one vibrate through the whole body, but meditation is a lot of people kind of, it's like, well, but I can't clear my mind and to do meditation. But clearing your mind is not the option. It's accepting what comes to mind, and then just
Yeah,
accept it and put it to the shelf. As I say,
great.
I put it on the shelf and I'll get back. I just say, okay, I'll get back to you in a minute. I have something else to do at the moment.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
now the book that you sent me, You're on the Air. Tell us a little bit about that one. What's that one about?
Well, that's my sixth book,
Mhm.
and it's about the radio shows that I was on last year, where the spirits came through.
Okay.
And over my lifetime, I developed a way. They say, well, how do you deal with those abilities 24/7?
Mm.
Well, over the years, I learned how to make time for myself, and I taught my wife the same thing. I have like a little door in my mind, and when it's open, they can come to me, but when it's closed, they don't, and they don't come to me. I can feel them around me,
Mhm.
but it's not like they're forcing themselves or wanting to speak to me.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I've had to do this. So when I'm on a radio show, I make sure the door is open
Mhm.
and they know that they're welcome to, come forth. And some of them do. I've had shows where they come on and they have messages for either the host or co-host. Oh, and of course callers too.
Mm.
And I had one of the first readings I did on air was a gentleman. He was, his twin brother had died just about a year before,
Mhm.
and he said that he's having trouble dealing with it still. And he was and the co-host, the lady, said, well, I can tell you that he is having a problem with it. He's having trouble dealing with it. And we were talking about that, but then we switched and was talking about other things. And just before the end of the show, the spirit came and there again sat down beside me. And he told me he was this host brother, twin
Mhm.
brother, and that he had a message for me. And he was very, very deliberate, and he wanted me to give this message to him.
Okay.
So I basically had to interrupt the show so I could do that. And I told him that his brother had a message for him. I told him that his brother says that he's around him all the time, and that I said, I'm pretty sure you could feel him that time. And he said, yes, I have felt him. And I said, he also tells me that he's probably been in one of your dreams. The spirit says, no, more. And I said, well, he's probably been in a couple of your dreams. And the spirit says, more. And I said, well, he's telling me he's been in several of your dreams. And the host said, well, that's right, he has. He says, I've had several dreams where my brother was in them. And I said, well, that's him letting you know that he's all right.
Yeah.
And I told him that also that his brother wanted to let him know, besides other things, I told him that his brother wanted to let him know that when he passes over, that he'll be there waiting for him. So the show, that time on radio is pretty bad because all you have is that silence, And for about a minute there was silence, and he was surprised because he got that reading at that time, And the co-host finally said, well, Mr. Wright, you hit that right on the head because, everything you said so far is true. And so, anyway, but that's happened in several shows.
Well, that's one of the reasons why for me, that's one of the reasons why I call mediums and psychics and everything else we do healers, because what you did giving that message is that you healed. He may not have realized that he needed that healing, or you wouldn't have vocalized it, but because his brother knew, it's like, it's time for me to come through it and, add my 2 cents to make him feel better. This is the way we do, you connect with them, with your guest, with your sitter, with the person who's receiving the message. You're helping them to heal. It's like a lot of people need closure. And I don't think closure is the actual word. I think it's a connection that needs to be finalized, but even that doesn't fit the right word. So, but it's fun when that happens. So of all the shows that you did, hey Cheryl, welcome. Of all the shows that you've done in your book because I'm sure you have a whole lot more stories than just what are in the book. Was there any one particular show that sort of stands out for your in your mind? It's like this is either the most spot on or the most weird. Like like sometimes some people will say, tell them about the pink polka dot pillowcase or something to that effect. And you'd be like, the pink polka dot, what? Means absolutely nothing to you as the reader, as the medium, but to your guest, to your sitter, that meant like, oh my God, like might have been a family joke or something. Is there ever been something that just sort of, out of all the shows, that sort of stands out and kind of like, a big one?
Well, I had this one radio show. The host of the show, she's really a nice lady. Her father had died a couple of years before, and she told me that when her father died, she could feel his presence.
Mm-hmm.
And she considered herself a medium, and she said she used to be able to talk to her father.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she was wondering if I would be able to channel her father and see if I could talk to him,
Yeah.
She was afraid that maybe she had done something or made him mad, and that's the reason why he wasn't coming around anymore. So we did, my wife and I both did on this one. And anyway, she called back a few days later, and I told her that we had channeled her father, And I said that I told her what he had told me to tell her. And just after I said that, he sat down beside me. And she says, well, why can you talk to him and I can't? And I said, well, your father's sitting right beside me right now, and he said that he'll come over and talk to you right now if you want. And she said, well, how do you know he's sitting beside me? Beside you. And I said, well, I usually get like goosebumps and a coolness when they sit down beside me close. And I said, that's what I got right now. And I said, but anyway, he wants to come over and talk to you. Now, we're thousands of miles apart here.
Mm-hmm.
And she said he does. And she started saying, well, when is he going to do it? And then all of a sudden she says, oh, my God, I'm getting chill bumps in this chill here. I said, well, that's your dad. I said, he's sitting beside you. In fact, I said, I can see him. He's on your left-hand side there. So, yeah, that was one thing that was really funny to me. She could actually feel him that time. Yeah. And anyway, and then the same lady, again, the family was trying to get this farm ready to sell. He had a farm, her father did, and they were getting ready to sell it, and they were selling all personal items, farm equipment, everything. And anyway, I was talking to her, and then she wanted to know if I had any more dealings with her father, and I said, well, yeah, and I started telling her some of the things that he had told me. And I said, by the way, he seems to be really concerned about the statue. And she says, statue? And I said, yeah, there's a statue. I said, do you have it in the barn? Or could it be in the farmhouse? I said, maybe it's in the house. And she said, statue. She said, I don't know. I said, well, I see an arm. I said, it looks like a statue, like it's waving or something like that. And she said, oh, I bet you're talking about a water pump. I said, water pump? She said, yeah, those old-time pumps that has those handles that you pull up and down. And I said, yeah, that's what it is. He gave me confirmation that that's what it was. I said, yeah, that's what it is. I said, why would he want to be concerned about that? And she says, well, there was only 2 of those pumps on the farm, and the 2 brothers are fighting over them, I guess. One was a little bit better than the other one. And he's upset because they're fighting over these water pumps, and he didn't like it. He didn't feel that the family should be having arguments about things like that. Yeah. And so it's really it's really something else when you're dealing with spirits like that. But yeah, they sometimes they give you a picture in your mind, and you're supposed to find out what it is or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things a lot of people forget is that when your loved one crosses over and you're a medium psychic, and you can connect with anybody from the other side, and all of a sudden you can't connect with your people. I think one of the things that we forget, and I did it myself as well, is that we're too close to the person. We want it too much, and we're trying too hard. Yeah. So when we connect with spirit, you just sort of sit, let it be, and spirit comes to you. But when you want to talk to your mother or your father or your husband or wife or whoever that close connection is with, that we forget sometimes that we try too hard. So you just sort of got to sit back, take a deep breath, and the connection will come when it's meant to. But that's nice that you got to give her that connection and then with her relaxing, because you had sort of opened that door for her. You had made her feel relaxed enough that she got to connect with her dad. But I like that.
Yeah. There's some people that I find it hard to read, and that's other mediums, other psychics. I find it hard to like I said, a lot of the medium psychics has like a protection around them for, and plus they've got so many spirits around them. It's kind of hard to give a reading to a person that has abilities that way. And I can usually tell that a person has abilities when I start giving them a reading because of that.
Yeah.
I gave readings to about 3 or 4 people now that's has abilities they have, and they don't know it. They don't know that they have abilities for being a psychic or even a healer or an empath. But anyway, yeah.
I think it's interesting because people don't realize that, like you say, everybody's born with abilities. We just have to learn to accept them and learn to learn more about them. And it just depends on your upbringing and all that, whether or not it's something you discuss. It's not something that's in your family realm, then it's not something you're going to talk about, so you're not going to realize that that's something for you to learn. So mind you, it's a little bit more out there now. People, there's 1-800-PSYCHICS and so people know it's out there, so it's a lot less back in the day where, people got tortured as being witches because they could, see the future or, speak to your past loved ones. But I think everybody has the abilities, has these gifts, and I call them gifts because everybody gets a gift. It just depends on whether or not you want to open it right away.
Yeah.
Like for me at Christmas time, I rip that packaging off, the paper off that gift, and I want to know what's inside. I don't want to, but then there are people who will, very carefully undo the tape and fold the paper back. They're very particular about how they, so everybody to me has a gift, has these abilities. They just have to learn, little bit by little bit, so it's, and that's where the breadcrumbs come in.
On this one show, I had a caller, a lady call. She sounded like she was probably 30, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that the first thing that she says, Mr. Wright, do you think you can help me? And I said, help you with what? I thought maybe it was, something about her love life or that's what I get mostly of, And she says, well, I think I'm going crazy. She said, in fact, I've been to psychiatrists and everything, and she says, they can't help me. She said, they give me medications and stuff, and she said, they make me feel like I'm dead. She said, I just can't take them, and yet I can't keep on with what's going on with me. And she says, I think I'm really crazy. And I said, do you see people that's not there? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, do you hear voices from people that's not there?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, yes, I do. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I think you have abilities, and I think you possibly could be a medium. And I said, yeah. And she started crying. She said, do you think so? And I said, I absolutely do. I said, I'm willing to bet my reputation on it. I said, I'm pretty sure you're a medium. I said, I also feel that you're a sensitive. And I said, I think you should look up a person that's another medium, a good one, and just talk to them and see how they can control it or handle it.
Yeah.
And see if you can get help from that people so that you understand what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I don't know. She said, I've seen some things that's really bad, Mr. Wright. I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen some things that would make a normal person run down the street screaming and yelling with their hands up over their heads. I said, because basically that's what happens. You see things and you hear things, but you learn to deal with it because most of it's not real. And I said, some of it most of it, I mean, it's from spirits. They know you're a medium, and they want to talk to you. They want to give messages to their loved ones, to people that you're around. And I said, that's basically it. And once you find out, and you can deal with it, and you're comfortable with it, you're all right. You'll be okay. And she was so happy that I was able to tell her that. And I heard the next day that the host of the show said that the audience had really seen a medium help somebody, and that's what it was, and that's what we should do as mediums. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I very much so. I think in all of the communities that we're in part of, whether it's mediumship, whether it's paranormal investigation, whether it's a counselor, that we need to help each other, and especially with the young ones coming out, and I keep saying young ones. Good. I've only opened the door to who I am in the past 2012. You know, when that big the world is going to end thing going on there. For me, it was it's going to end is the way we know it. But there's something new that's coming. It's not like, you know, the earth is going to explode. That doesn't work that way. Hey, Shelby, welcome, sugar pie. It's things are going to change, the way we see things, the way we understand things. And so that's sort of what opened me up, you know, hearing a story from my daughter and connecting with a friend, you know, who asked me, she says, "Are you willing to hear a message?" And I was like, yeah, you know. So and she helped me that way. She is, I consider her my Mama D. You know, she is a great lady. She is. But there's a lot of people out there that also, you got to remember that what we do as mediums and as healers, what we do is also something that needs that we get paid for. You know, and I've actually had somebody, Cheryl, you didn't bring me any pizza. How rude. That I had a woman say, "Well, this is a gift from God. Don't you think it's a gift to you that, you know, you should be giving it away?" I said, there are times that, yes, you know, we do give it away when I see somebody that needs help and it just pulls at me, then I help them because it's what I know I need to do, you know, or somebody that, you know, has questions and we know that they can't afford to pay the prices, and it's an exchange of energies. You know, I've done readings where when I first started my healing, I did a healing for somebody that didn't have the money, and I was like, not a problem. You know, don't worry about it. I just knew that they needed to get the message that I had for them. And a few weeks later, when they were able to, they went out and bought me a massage table for my healing section of my business. And it was, you know, and it was an exchange. I mean, it was above what I would have charged her, but it's like, you know, and I was like, yeah, okay, not a problem. But this is the thing. So not only do we have to, you know, pay our bills type of thing, but we also have to, you know, people got to remember that what we do will be there to help somebody else. You know, and it's just it's part of who you are. But there are people out there who, you know, in all of the communities who are afraid that, you know, I'm afraid to help. Here, Eric Lynn is in the chat room, and he's a pretty decent medium. He's got a good guide, but he goes out of his way to help people. But if Eric wanted to, he'd be like, I'm not telling nobody nothing. You know, you want to hear what I have to say, then you pay me. You know, and it doesn't always work that way. You know, you're not in that respect. You're not helping somebody. You know, really. And sometimes people get a little bit, as I say, a little bit too big for the britches. You know, and they, you know, but I think a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I know, Shelby in the chat room is one of them. She goes out of her way to help people. You know.
That's the way I am. I have never charged anything for what I do. But there again, I didn't really come out of my closet until after I retired, and that was 2010. I had the abilities all along, but at the same time, like when I was in school, I couldn't run around and say, "Hey, I saw a ghost last night," or or I talked to your grandmother who had died. I couldn't do that thing because then they thought I would be weird or whatever. So I just didn't let them know. Same way during when I was working in my career, I could not do that. I worked with the public. I was in management. And if I had done anything like that and it got back to my superiors, I would have been fired and anything. So I just hit it all those years. And it was in 2010 when I retired that I was able to say, okay, I'm going to do what I do because I don't care what people say now. I've been told that I worship the devil. I don't know how many of my friends on Facebook unfriended me, blocked me, and everything else because they thought I was evil. I was doing things for the devil, and that is the furthest thing from the truth.
But that's the thing, those people who say that, they don't understand it. It's not about, who you, it's like, some people may believe in God, in Allah, and Buddha, or whoever, and you just have to be open to listening to other people's beliefs. They're not there to change your mind. If they are, well, you're preaching to the wrong choir. I believe what I believe. I will listen to what you have to say. Eric could be a little Buddha, and Jackie could be a Muslim, and Larry could be Jewish, and I'm just pulling names in the chat room, picking on everybody.
Yeah,
and
really.
Cheryl could love the flying pizza spaghetti, whatchamacallit, dude. But I'm opening to listening to this, and a lot of people are not. It scares them. They're afraid of the unknown, and we need to be able to get people to just stop, take a deep breath, and listen. It's like when I first started, I created the name Mama D because I didn't want my family and my job people, because they were all friends on my other Facebook account. I didn't want them to know what I was up to. Eric Quinn worships peace. I didn't want them to know what I was up to until I was ready for that. And now, people where I work, it's a convenience store, so they come and go at quick moments, and some people know and some people don't know, but they don't hide it. Kids get to, children. As I was growing up, I was raised Catholic, so it was go to church, say your sacraments, and da 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 da. We had the kids used to meet on Wednesdays after school, and we study whatever the heck it is we were studying. As you can see, I really paid attention. But the priest would have to actually physically poke me because I would be often in my own little world with angels, because that was where I was connected. But nobody ever spoke about it. Nowadays, I think not everybody, but a lot of people are open to the possibilities that they will listen. It's like, how many times as a parent do you hear your kid talking to somebody, and that they're in the room by themselves, but they're talking to somebody, and it's just your imaginary friend, and when they get to a certain age, well, it's time to stop talking to your imaginary friends, dear. It's like, no, they're not your imaginary friends. They are your guides. They are your angels there. But there's a lot of people out there now that believe and that encourage the children to be open to whoever they're talking to. Sorry, I went on a rant.
For sure. I did a reading for this one guy once. He's the one that had a whole family full, a room full of family by the time it was done. But when it started out, he was, calling on a telephone. I couldn't see him. He was on a radio. And I said, he sounded like a young man, but I said, are you married? And he said, well, I used to be. And I said, well, I said, I have a woman here. She's claiming to be your wife. And I said, and I went into telling him that she wanted me to tell him that she loved him still, and that she always would. And at the end of the message was, she told me, or told me to tell him that she's one of his guardian angels, which I thought was pretty neat. She also told me to tell him that if he wanted support and strength, for him to ask her, and that she would help him. And I thought that was pretty unique too, you know. That was pretty special, you know. And then he had he started out, this one guy was standing there. He looked like he was in his mid-20s, and he didn't say anything, but he was holding a picture of a kid with a plump face and smiling, but he wouldn't say anything. I couldn't figure out why. And I said, does anything would a plump face, a kid with a smiling plump face, have anything to do with you? And he says, well, no, not really. I said, well, did you have a brother that was kind of plump, maybe? And he said, well, yeah, my younger brother was plump. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I got him here in this room. Come to find out, his brother committed suicide. And he was trying to connect with his brother then. But the odd way that you have to pick up on their signals that they give you and stuff. But anyway, his whole family showed up to give him love and support. And I thought that was just really great, the way they did that. I told him, I said, you may feel like you're lonely in this physical life, but in actuality, you have family all around you all the time, and you do. And I think if more people knew that, it might help them to get through some of the life's problems and, you know, the hardships that they have.
I think people know it, but they have a hard time accepting it. So,
well, that's good. Yeah.
Eric in the chat room says you have to reach the point that Nellie taught me as a child, that Nellie's his grandmother. You have to remember other people's beliefs are as important to them as yours are to you. So respect is the cornerstone of spiritualism. So yes, respect and dignity. Always treat everybody the same way that you want to be. In
my feelings, though, I have to tell the truth. I have to say what I see, and I have to say what I am being told, you know. And whether they like it or not, I don't have any control over that. I'm the messenger, you know. But personally, I don't care what religion they are or anything. I don't care if they're gay. It doesn't matter to me as a medium, you know. But I can't tell somebody such and such and such if that spirit is not telling me that, you know. That's just the way it is. It's almost like they take over my body, and my mouth is their mouthpiece to tell their relatives things that they want, that the spirit wants them to know. You have to respect their beliefs and stuff like that. I do as a medium, like I said, but I can't lie to them. I can't say that maybe somebody's not there when they are.
And a lot of people don't get is that I'm coming in to see you and I want to speak to my grandmother. Well, just because I want to speak to my grandma doesn't mean my grandma wants to speak to me. So she'll send in my mom because she's like, I'm not talking to your daughter today. She's got an attitude, you know. Because the thing is, I believe, and I'm learning this because I listen to a lot of people when they talk, is that if people were difficult in life, they can be difficult in as spirit as well. I do believe that, people can
definitely.
change. I do believe that people can change just because, you're a butthead as a human doesn't mean you have to stay a butthead. If you've had to review everything you did, uh, they say that when you pass over, you have to go through a life review. Well, if I go through my life review, I'd be like, I already know that there are things that I'm not proud of, but, trying to throw a bucket of cold water on my best friend's mom when we first met was not a good thing. But, it's who you are. It's what you do. But it's a sign of,
Yeah, really. The lady that was doing the farm thing, selling all of the equipment and everything, she said she found a rifle that belonged to her great-grandfather, I guess it was. But she thought it belonged to him. She wasn't sure, and she was wondering if I could contact him and see if if it was his rifle or what he wanted done with it,
Yeah.
It was kind of old, a rifle. So I did that, but what happened was I got the grandfather, great-grandfather, grandfather, and the father, her father.
Okay.
And the funny thing was, the great-grandfather didn't want to talk to me. He had nothing to do with me, nothing at all. And what he did, though, I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because in my mind's eye, I saw that he had the rifle.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I'm trying to get him to give me some information, and he wouldn't talk to me. So what he did was he handed the gun to his son, which was the grandfather, her grandfather.
Right.
And come to find out, that was a sign for me to tell her that gun was being handed down from father to son, to son, through the generations. And that's what the grandfather told me. But the great-grandfather didn't want to speak to me, and he just showed me a sign that way by handing it down to his son.
Yeah.
So I thought that they have so many different ways of, but like you said, if they're obstinate, stubborn, mean, or whatever, when they die, they just carry that on with them in the spirit world. I'm sure that great-grandfather was probably like that.
Stubborn old fart. Yeah. And it's funny because I can remember a friend of a friend, he didn't believe in what I do. He didn't believe in spirit. He didn't believe that, that there was life after death and, all this stuff. And he passed in an unfortunate way. And one day, my friend reached out to me and she said, I'm kind of curious, as to as to whether or not, how he is over there and whatnot. And I said, yeah, it would be interesting to know. And this was when I was just beginning. And that night I went to sleep and woke up with the knowledge in my brain going, okay, so you guys were right. You don't have to keep shoving it in my face. And I'd never spoke to this gentleman before. It was just a connection through my friend. And the way I had said it when I relayed the message to her, she goes, that's exactly the way he would have talked. That's exactly, the inflections, the word that I used was exact. So I said, well, now he knows. So that was my kind of like aha moment going, ha, 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 ha. They do figure things out when they get across,
Yeah, they tell you what to say, and you actually almost say it in the same way they would have, even sometimes with an accent almost.
Yeah.
I did one for a guy in England that was like that. I had trouble trying to speak American, without talking with the accent, But yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, it's things that we learn as we travel along our path in this crazy world. One thing Eric in the chat room says, remember, You may be clairvoyant or clairaudient, but your sitter is inevitably clairvacant, which means they don't get everything. So that's why they've come to you. They've come to whomever is their medium or their psychic or their healer. You know, it's they need the message, but they can't get it themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why I was born this way. My mother, I received the gifts or abilities from my mother, who received them from her mother, who received them from her mother. They was handed down through the female side of the family, but I don't know why I ended up with the abilities being a male, and I have two sisters. But anyway. So I know where they came from pretty much. I used to think of my mother as a little gypsy type thing. She used to be able to tell what things was going to happen to the family before they happened, and she also knew when somebody in the family, say, back east died or something. And so that's where I got the abilities, but I believe my abilities right now are much stronger than my mother or grandmother's were. Again, I don't know why either.
I think it's because we're in that era that you're in that you have an open mind. You're willing to work with it. You're willing to be, and everybody around you is allowing you to be who you are. In your mother and your grandmother's time, they probably weren't able to be as open about it as we are today. Like doing this type of show back in the day would not have happened. This is things that used to happen in the back rooms of people's houses, and hi, honey, I'm just going over to my friend's classes for for a cup of tea and girls talk and whatever. But get over to Gladys's and there's a buttload of women waiting for their readings. So it allows. We are now at a point in our lives that there's a lot more people open to it. Not as many as I would like, and I would like people to be more, can you say, open and honest about it. But
Mama D, if everybody knew what was going to happen in the future, I'm pretty sure they would be more open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe in this day and age having a closed mind to things of the universe. We are going to be fed, whether we want to be or not, by the universe. We're going to have to know the laws of the universe. We're going to have to know the history of the universe. These things are going to be taught to us one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And what we know of the universe and what we are open to now is going to help us that much more in the future. And if people only knew that, I was told things on that astral projection that would probably they would probably burn me at the stake today, in this day and age. But I know if I lived in the 1600s or 1500s, I would have been burned at the stake. Yeah. There would be no doubt about it, unless I just closed up and didn't tell anybody anything.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Back then, that's what everybody did. They just closed up. And if you gave a message to somebody and it was a message that made them happy, then it was fine. But if it was a message that didn't make them happy, then it was like, oh my God, Alan's a witch, and do whatever they do to witches and try to do to witches, whatever. But it's just, I think people are afraid of the unknown because a lot of people say, I want to know what's going to happen in my future. I don't want to know what's going to happen in my future. I am enjoying the trip, the voyage that I'm on. Would I like to have certain things happen in my future? Heck yes. Would I like to be able to have the house that I want, the physical place that I want to create my Angel Meadows? Yes, I want that. But to do that, I have to have the money. I have to have, there's all different steps that you have to go through. But I can't sit there and say, you know what, if somebody told me in 2 years you're going to have everything you want, you're going to have this, this, and this, and this. It'd be nice to know, but in a way not, because then I don't get to enjoy the ride. You don't get to
Yeah.
enjoy the voyage, you know. If you go to you get on a train, you're going to go for me, I go from Montreal to Toronto. It's a 9-hour trip by train. Everybody's going to say, all you're going to see is trees and telephone poles and buildings. It's like, well, okay, let me just tweak through the whole thing, you know. But you go there and you watch the trees, the different trees, and in a tree you might see a bird or something. So, you know, it's not just in a box. It's something else that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Eric in the chat room says the abilities are handed down to the person's spirit is most able to work with, male or female, and they select who. In the event of what people call a missed generation, is usually that the person was unwilling to accept the abilities. Spirit won't give someone else. They will just wait until the next generation and try again. Whoops.
Yeah.
Hold on.
One thing I learned when I was there was they have no time there. There's no time where they're at.
Exactly.
So time to them is nothing. So if they have to wait 100 years, that's nothing to them. Absolutely nothing. It's just like distance. Distance to them is nothing also. Just like the woman's father traveling from my place to her place, which was thousands of miles away, in just a matter of like 2 seconds. I agree with everything they're saying.
Yeah, and like the last part of that, Eric says, spirit is here for a long time, so missing 1 or 2 generations won't make them go away, won't make them fed up or go away. Like you said, the spirit, for us, it might be a lifetime. It might be, 40, 50 years, but to spirit, good night, Larry. Thanks for coming. Knowing the future is not always a good thing. Yeah, exactly, Larry. But I think that, lost my brain. I think that we need to, whoops, hold on a second. We need to understand that, life is a journey, and you have to enjoy the ride. You have to enjoy the what ifs. You can't know everything. Sometimes knowing everything makes it boring along the trip,
Yeah. Can I tell you the first part of that story on my projection? It started out with me in the hospital. I was in the corner of the room of the ceiling, and I was looking down on this gondola or this gurney, and there was a body on it, and I realized that body was mine. And there was a doctor and a nurse sitting there, and they were talking back and forth. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but anyway, I started moving up through the ceiling of the room, and I went up through the roof of the hospital, and I could tell it was night. And I could see the city or the town with the lights of the town and stuff. But I kept moving up. And about this time, the co-host of one of the radio shows where I was telling the story, he says, "Could you recognize what city it was or what town?" And he stopped because I never thought of it before. But, at the time that it happened, I could not recognize the lights. But my wife and I moved up here to this little town in Utah, and I recognized it. It was this town. And my wife freaked out when I told him that because she was sitting beside me. But I had never thought of it before, actually. But it was this town, and she was really freaked out because I had recognized the lights as this town. But anyway, it was quite a trip that I went on. As I got higher up in the sky I went into space, and I could see the Earth below me. And I was thinking about how beautiful it was up there. But then the thought came to me that on the surface, though, it was so ugly, the wars and the rapes and the killings and everything else that went on down here.
Mm-hmm.
And a voice came to me at that time, and it was almost like the person was standing beside me, and it said, the earth is fulfilling the purpose for which it was created. And that told me right there that the earth was created, and for whatever purpose, it was fulfilling it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as I kept moving up, I started getting in among the stars. And, before I left the earth thing, I started worrying about my family and what they were going to do since I was not going to be with them anymore. And I was wondering about my own self first. I was wondering where I was going to go since I was taught from a child that, you know, you go to heaven or hell, you know.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried about that. And the voice came to me again, and it says, because of the choices that you made while you were alive, the stumbling blocks that you got over, and the hard times that you came through, is the reason why you're at the place you're at now. And that kind of tells me right there that, you know, maybe we put too much emphasis on sin as far as small things, you know.
Yeah.
I think we pay for most of our sins right here, if you want to call them sins. But most of it we pay here. And it also said, because of those things, it made your spirit strong. And then I started thinking about my family and what they were going to do since I was dead. And it told me that they had to go through the same things I did, so they too could be at the place that I was at, and so that their spirits could be strong. And that kind of told me right there that this life is like a test. It serves a couple purposes. Number one, it makes your spirit strong, and then the second, it kind of helps you to make choices, the right choices, hopefully. And if you do make the right choices and overcome those stumbling blocks and hardships that you have, that you can be in a good place when you die. And I think that's a message for all mankind and all religions. I just feel that that's very important. I got a very strong impression that it didn't really, well, I know it doesn't matter. When I went to see my grandfather, one of the things that they never asked me what religion I was, what church I went to. Their main thing was how much I loved my neighbor, how much I loved my family, how much I loved the world and the earth. Love to them was the important thing. That, you know, they didn't care. I got the impression is if your religion, if your church preached love and practiced that love, then you were okay, you know, and it didn't matter to them.
Exactly.
But,
because everything that we believe as humans is one thing. Once you get, you know, once you get rid of the meat suit that you're in, everybody is the same. There's no color of skin. There's no color of hair. It's just an energy. And energy for me is 9 times out of 10 is always positive. Now, I'm not. And I'm not naive to say that there is no negativity. I know that there's negativity. I just choose not to engage with it.
Exactly.
So, you know, so I know it's there. And it's like, you know, somebody once said to me, well, what happens if somebody sends something negative to you? I said, well, you know, you're asking, which person are you asking? You're asking Darlene, you're asking Mama D. Mama D, as the sweet, loving, gentle person that I am, I would, you know, send it love and send it back to the universe so it could get it refurbished as a good energy. As Darlene, if you mess with my family or my children, I'm gonna kick your butt. You know, and I think everybody has. You have your boundaries, you have your borders, but, you know, my way of thinking is that when people cross over, that 9 times out of 10, they realize that the dumbass shit that they do thank God, I'm going to have to put money in the cost jar. The dumbass stuff that they do when they're down here, and you got to, so if you, like I said, for me, it's a matter of respect and dignity. You want respect and dignity, you need to give it out as well. It's not just, it's not a one-way street. Eric Glenn in the chat room says, why should I be worried about passing over? I'm going home and growing up. I was taught by my mom, if worried, run home, so you never worry about going. Try this again. Why should I be worried about passing over? I'm going home. And growing up, I was taught by my mom, if worried, run home. So I'm never worried about going home. Home is safe. Home is good. Yeah, that's true. When you cross over, it's like how many times do people, expecting parents think, oh my God, we're going to have a pretty baby and da-da-da. I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe that our children choose us. It's not always, choose our parents. It's not us. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's not up to us to say, look, I want a little girl with red hair and blue eyes. My mother wouldn't have wished for me. I was like, I was a holy terror, But, I knew that, I as a child knew that she could handle me, My children chose me because for whatever reason they chose me. But when we pass, it is like going home. No matter what you believe when you're alive, you go home. Because it's a never-ending cycle. Whether you come back again, I'm not sure whose choice that is. Whether it's the person who passes, or whether it's the universe who says you did not learn your lesson correctly. Please go back. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. So yeah, but it is going home. It is. So yeah, why would you worry about going home? But a lot of people are afraid. Unfortunately, but I think if there are people out there. Like I said, Eric Glenn, my friend who just left the chat room, Larry, yourself, there are people who are out there who are willing to help people transition, and I think now that is something, that's an amazing thing, that they have, what are they called? When people know that they're passing the hospital, then there is palliative care. I have a good friend who, she's a Reiki practitioner, and she's a medium, and she works at palliative care. She does volunteer work at palliative care, helping people to transition. They know what they're expecting, and they know who she is. So it's not like, it's just like Jane from down the street. This is Jane, the Reiki practitioner and / medium, who's helping me, who's listening to me, because we got to remember that our families. I did it with my dad. I was selfish. My dad had asked me something, and I said, no, I can't. I'm selfish. I want to keep you here. But, it was then that, that's the way I thought at the time. But my dad needed to be able to let it go. I learned with time. I learned to, I got my mom. I told my mom, good. You can, it's time to go. Stop fighting for us. Time to go and be with dad and be with your sisters and brothers and yada, yada, yada. But some people don't get it. The families are just like, no, I want my dad to stay. I want my brother, I want mother or husband, father, whatever it is. I want them to stay here with me. But the person that they are is not the same person that they were. So yeah, I think it's going home is a very important thing. And that's what people have to understand. You're not going to except for me, who thinks, a lot of people think hell is with fire and brimstone. Excuse me, hell to me is full of snow and ice.
Well, I've been there and I saw it, so I wouldn't want to go back. It's not hell and brimstone, but it's a very dark place with all this negative energy.
I think everybody's hell vision of hell is they have this vision in their head, but until you get there, you don't actually know. Some people to be in hell would be like being around happy people all the time because they were grumpathoruses when they were here. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll go be there. I'm gonna, but everybody has.
I believe in a pre-existence or premortal life. As you said, we are energy. Our spirits are energy. And when they pass, when they give up this physical body, they continue to go on. Well, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Energy cannot be destroyed, and so it had to come from someplace, and it came before this life. And like you said, we were able to pick out our families, I'm sure, because the order of the universe is family, the family order. The animals are in families. People are in families. Everything's in families in the universe, and that's the way it is. We are in families in pre-existence, and when we come here, we're in a family, and when we go back, we will be in a family. And so, I agree with everything that you said, and I think most mediums will agree on that because they've been probably to some places where most people haven't been.
Yeah. And I think everybody. Like I said, for me, it's just I sort of think I'm stuck on that because it's something that was sort of prevalent throughout my day of respect and dignity. If you are you have to give people what you expect. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and that includes when it's time for them to cross over. You don't want to be, that person who's dying, never want to be a burden on their family, but their families wants them here, and I get it. It's like I want my mom and my dad to be still here, but I also know that it was time for them to go back home. Are they back here somewhere on this earth? Quite possibly, but I know that every so often, I can smell my dad's cologne, or I look in the mirror and I see my mother's face looking back at me, and I know they're here. They're here with me because it's what I know, it's what I feel. And some people be like, when you're dead, you're dead. There's nothing to it. When you cross over, you'll come back to me going, damn, Darlene, you was right.
Well, I used to know this family. It was a husband and wife, and the husband developed brain cancer, and I gave him a blessing, and I could tell the minute I laid my hands on him that there wasn't much I could do for him. He was going to pass, I think most healers probably can feel that. The only thing I could really do was give him some kind of peace and relaxation and probably ease some of the pain, And so I did that for a while. Then one night she called me and said that he was having a rough time. He was rolling and tossing around in the bed, and he was quite restless, wanted to know if I could come over and give him a blessing. And when I went over there to give him a blessing, she also told me that he was seeing people in the room. Well, those people that he's seeing is his relatives that had passed before him, and they were there to help him cross over. And but I don't think he was wanting to go, really. But, I gave him a blessing. I explained to him what was going to happen. And those people were going to, I told him to go to them and that they would help him go towards the light. And he settled right down. And then when I left, he was as quiet as a baby. And when I got home, the telephone rang, and I was only like 5 minutes away from their house. And it was her, and she said that after I had left, he had passed. So he had passed at least in a comfortable state, And I tell myself though that at least I think I helped him a little bit in his passing. I calmed him down at least that much. But anyway, yeah.
I think one of the things is no matter who we are, we as humans want to know that we've done a good job, that we've helped somebody. But I think in your heart that that not even in your heart, but you know in your mind and everything that you've done what's needed to be done. You know, but it's always nice to get that confirmation. You know, like I said, when my friend's friend passed away, and we kind of knew that, you know, when you cross over, they're gonna figure it out, and it's like, you know, but it was kind of a fun confirmation to go, so you guys are right, type of thing, you know, and it was funny that was funny, you know, this gentleman who you eased his mind, the confirmation that you eased his mind enough so that he could let go. That was confirmation when his wife said he's gone. You know, she called you and said he's gone. You know, he needed that. He needed somebody to be able to say to him, it's okay. You can let go. And as hard as it is, family members have a hard time doing that. I know. You know, been there, done that. You know, but I also know that we as family, we as humans, you know, we're not perfect. You know, we want what we wanted. I want my mom here now, but she's not. She's not in a physical form. She's here. She's here in my heart. She's here in my mind, and sometimes she's here in my reflection in the mirror. You know, but I know that's where she'll always be. And you know, people get it. You know, people have, you know, where the husbands pass or the wives pass, and you know, the husbands. I'm going to use the husband as an example. I haven't killed mine yet. He's still alive, so don't worry, people. The husbands have passed, and the wives are like, but, you know, he was it. He was the be-all. He was the end-all. I can't find another person. But yet your husband is over there going, look at him. Look at that one over there. Oh, wait, what about that? You know, they're trying to help you understand that you need to move on. You need to move forward. You know, it's just that we forget. As still being left behind. All right, Cheryl. I'll see you next Sunday. Yes, I will. Thanks. I'm glad you're back, sweetie. Bye. Next time, bring some food for everybody. I think we, as you know, the ones left behind, need to understand that it's time for them to go. It's time for us to stop being so selfish and holding on to them. You know, it's like I can remember when I was a kid. And my dad would go to work. You know, how many kids would jump onto their father's like, no, I don't want you to go to work, Dad. I don't want you to go to work. Mom, stay home, play with me, or whatever the case may be. You know, we do the same thing as partners in life. You know, I don't want you to go. What am I going to do without you? But in all honesty, we will survive without them. It won't be the same thing because your partner is gone. That other half of you that makes you whole and complete is gone. But in the physical form, in the spiritual form, they're always there, you know.
Actually, they don't know how close they are to them. When you pass, you don't go into some secret hideaway or something. I mean, when the spirit passes, it passes just outside the body. That's all. It's right there still. There's a belief out there that the spirits stay around the body sometimes for 3 days. I think it was Jewish religion back in the olden days, but I'm not sure. But that's what I heard, and that could be true. I don't know. I know back even in the say about the 1920s, if somebody died here in the United States, they put the body in the house of the family and in the casket, you know, and showed it there instead of in the mortuary. It was more like a family type thing then, you know. But now when people die, they go to the mortuary, and that's where they do the showings and everything. But back then it was out of the home.
Yeah, because the family you needed to surround the family with the person who's gone. But then again, it's a belief, you know. And I have a friend, she's Muslim, and what I didn't know was that when her mother passed, in the Muslim religion, they have to be buried on the same day.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that I was like, wow, didn't know that, because she was like so amazed that it took forever for my mother's funeral. I said, well, she's over here and she's got to get here, and it's not, you can't just, it's not just like a blink of an eye or do the I dream a genie cross my arms and there she's here, So, but, in their religion, in the Muslim religion, the person has to be, the body has to be put into the ground ASAP. It's not a nice way to put it, but, as soon as, in the same day, because it's, I don't understand all the ifs, ands, or buts about it, but it's part of what they believe. The soul is gone, so it's time for the body to follow. So yeah, so we go through so many different ways of so many different beliefs, and people are like, well, this, I believe this, and it comes again back to understanding. You have to listen to what people's beliefs are. You don't have to, I don't expect to change people's minds for them to believe what I believe, but just be open to listening to what I have to say, just as I am opening to listening to what you have to say. Like I said, because you never know how much you're going to learn.
Yeah, you can't have a closed mind about things. I was telling you, people told me that I worship the devil and all this stuff. And, I had a friend. We went to school, grade school together. I've known this guy for 63 years, and I got in touch with him again just a few months ago, and come to find out he had cancer. And I never told him that I had abilities before because, well, as a kid and growing up and everything, I didn't want my friends to know it anyway. But anyway, I finally told him. I said, Ted, I'm a medium. And I told him that actually the reason why I told him is because his late wife came to me, and she wanted me to give him a message from her. And I gave him that message. Him and I were both crying when I was giving him this message from his wife, because I knew his wife, my wife and I knew them, also. And it was, I thought, very emotional and stuff. He was crying and everything, and I gave him a message from his wife, and we talked for a little bit, and then we hung up. And anyway, the next day, I got a text from him. He asked me to call him. Well, I called him, and he got somebody from his church or something and told him that he shouldn't be talking to me. That it says in the Bible that mediums are from the devil, and that you shouldn't, be talking to him, shouldn't have nothing to do with him. And that was it. He told me not to call him anymore. That was going to be the last time. I couldn't believe it. And I gave him a whole set of my books too. I mailed them to him. About $100 worth of books. I mailed them to him, and he didn't want my books or nothing.
Well, eventually, I look at it this way. Eventually, people will come around to going, okay, now I get it. It's like another radio host passed this Friday. Really amazing guy, Scott Morris. The Fearless Ghost Hunter.
Oh, yes, I heard, yeah.
Yeah, an amazing guy. And I always learned something from him. Not that he was out to teach things, but I always learned something from listening to his show. And they were doing a kind of like a retrospective of some of his shows yesterday. It was like all of his repeat shows. And do you know that for the first time I ever knew that the word unicorn is actually in the Bible, and they actually put in which Psalm or whatever, I've never read the Bible, probably not a good little Catholic girl, but hey, that's me, and I never knew that. So you'd be amazed at what things are in the Bible that people skim over and the people that don't use it. So, it's like, you were saying that you've been called a devil worshiper. I have too, only once. And that was because at the time, I did a posting on Facebook that the angel that I was working with that day, the card that I was working with that day, we'll say was a she, was Gabrielle. And now the name is can be used either male or female. It just depends on the outlook. But at that time, the message that I felt coming through with it was she, And this guy says, you are such you are a devil worshiper. All angels are males, yada yada yada. And I'm the type of person who says you can have what you can say what you got to say. It doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
And I said I understand. I said but at the time the feeling that I got, the connection that it went with was female. I said, and in actuality, angels are just energy. They're not. They don't have the same parts that we do. It's just like, we'll say a blob of energy. So you don't have boobies and whatnot going on. And I said, if you don't like what I have to say, why do you follow me? He says, damn it, my mother and my sister follow you and I get their shit in my feed. I was like, I just sort of laughed. And then I had another friend, and I have no problem letting people rant on my Facebook pages. You can, just don't disrespect or don't attack people on a personal level, because I'm not about that. And that's what he did. One of my friends came to my defense, and then he started commenting on her style of writing and her picture, and she looked like this, and I said, look, I typed in the thing, I said, I have no problem if you voice your opinion on what I do, what I say. I'm fine with that. But when you start attacking a person on their personal level, that has nothing to do with just trying to, defend me, and I loved her for it immensely. I said, but now you've crossed the line that I don't allow. I said, so I thank your mother and your sister for following me, but your butt's blocked from my page. And I just blocked him so that he could still see my stuff, but there's no way he could comment on my page, and it's belief. Yes, there are people out there who believe that angels are all male, but the names Gabriel, it just depends on how you pronounce it. Gabriel or Gabrielle, all as far as I see, all angels have a female counterpart. And even then, it's, the male angels have a female counterpart and the females have a male counterpart. All it is takes a little bit of research to figure these things out, to do, because there's so much information out there. It's not just one book, the Bible, or one book, the oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, the Tarot? No. Torah, the Torah in the Jewish religion. And there's different books, people, for each religion, but there's so much out there now with the internet. We do so much. You want to find something out, you want to find out about your horoscope sign? My thing is, check 3 different sites. Always at least, my magic number is 3. So check 3 different sites and see which one, see what they have in common. Because everybody makes things, understands things differently, reads things differently. I can look at a deck of cards, and the first card I pull, I can see, I can see you going on a trip, or I can see, you going to, walking down the street or whatever. You could look at it and say, oh my gosh, I can see you, I can see that there's people coming to visit you. Everybody sees things differently because it's our perspective. So everybody reads a book, and everybody gets something different from it because it's their perspective. So.
Really? Yes. I don't know where I heard this at, but I heard that there's a belief out there that we as humans were at one time 2 people that was connected. We had 2 faces, so on and so forth, but they had done something that irritated the gods or something.
Mm-hmm.
So the gods split us in half. And so now we only have one face, but we are looking for our other half all the time.
Yeah.
And that other half could be female or male, depending.
I heard that in the movie recently, where we as human entities, we were 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 legs. We were one. And like you said, we sort of ticked off somebody somehow, and they split us apart. So we're always and constantly in search of our other half. People are always out there searching for their soulmate or their their twin flame, or everybody has a different name for it. And I know there's the differences in the thing, but yeah, I've heard that just recently. It kind of sort of makes sense, because as we grow, we need to meet people, we need to connect with people. Now, why are we doing this? Because we're looking for the other part of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not the other half of you. Like I have a very dear friend. When I first met her, like 8 years ago, I think, on Facebook, we just connected over the silliest of things. She had been to a wedding and she had her hands done. It was an Indian wedding, and they had that lovely Indian ink painted on her hands. And I said, "Oh my God, that is so beautiful." Hold on a sec. And we just started talking, and she's like my other half. I can start a sentence, she'll finish it. So
Yeah.
the other half of you at this point in time doesn't have to be the other half, like the opposite sex. It's just, it is, because we got split, for whatever, however you want to believe it, your better half, is not always the person, like, I love my husband, and we've been together for 30 some odd years. Poor man's got this stamina of an army tank to put up with my stuff. But, and because we've grown together over 30 years, that he can sort of finish my sentences, and he still freaks out when I know exactly what he wants for supper. And it's like, it's not because, that I know I can read his mind, because that'd be a scary ass thing to do. But, hold on.
You can't read his mind?
Yeah, I can. But I said it's scary.
I know. Wife and I are all the time reading each other's mind. We keep saying, "Get out of my head, get out of my head."
Yeah, exactly. But you learn to grow, and you be together with a person long enough that, yes, you do connect. You do have those connections, but there's always somebody that you meet for the first time, and that's a connection, and it doesn't mean that you'll ever be in the same place at the same time to make that connection, whether it's a lover, a partner, or, like a best friend. My friend, she's in Trinidad. I'm not going to get to see her anytime soon. Okay, 3 hours. But she did make a trip to see her family over here in Canada, in another province, and she made them drive out of the way so that she could come and meet me. We've met each other once in the physical. We Skype, and but I knew then that this is the person who finishes my sentences. This is, we've been together in more than one lifetime. Now, whether she's the other half of who I was, in the in the beginning of existence, I don't know. But I'm enjoying the voyage that I get to meet all the bunch of different people in this thing. And we went so off topic for your book.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
But that's okay. That's what I love about this show, is it's a conversation with friends. That's why I called it that. I know my very first show was a fireside chat with Mama D on Paramania Radio. Great place, great. They taught me so much that made me realize that this is what I'm about. I'm about getting people to know, getting other people to know who you are and how you think. And, so you're, like you said, there's nobody going to be out there going, "Oh my God, Alan's written stories about ghost stories. He's a devil worshiper." No, he's not. He's a good guy, because look, he was on Mama D's show and he said this and this and this and this, So it's fun. The only thing we didn't get into talk of conversation was food, and I'm starving right now.
That's a good thing.
Actually, we did. Yeah.
We might have had to went and fix a sandwich or something.
Yeah, no. I'm lucky tonight. My husband's cooking. Yay!
Oh.
And
I ate before the show, so I'm okay.
No, I can't eat before the show. I get. Quick, someone orders pizza. Yeah, please. Jackie's ordering pizza for me. Y'all better pay for it too. And that's funny. That's a funny thing. I woke up this morning and I had money in my PayPal account that wasn't there last night. And I went to look and somebody had put money into my PayPal account, but it wasn't for me. It was for a bill that they were paying, rent or something, and late fees. And I mean, it wasn't a big amount, like it wasn't like, $1,000 type amount, but it was a silly number. It was $103.99, but I sent it back to them and I explained that I think you put it in the wrong account. Hopefully you get to put it back, but it was great, that I love the idea that for me, I need to give it back. I need to make sure that, because there are people out there who don't. It's like, okay, yeah, I got an extra $100 in my bank account, but then in the meantime, that poor person, is out $100 to pay a bill, and they thought they paid the bill. But I think PayPal is able. So, Jackie, if you're going to order pizza, make sure you put the money in my PayPal account, because I even have a link on my show page to, I do this for free. I don't pay my guests. My guests don't pay me to come on the show. They probably pay me not to come on the show sometimes. But, so if you want to support the nonsense that I put out there, please feel free to go and put a donation to the PayPal account. I actually had somebody do that. I was amazed when they did that. I was like, wow, cool.
Well, I don't think people realize that you have to pay for your show. Mm-hmm. Don't you have to pay a fee each month or something for your show?
This show is a fee. You can have on IntuiTalks, you can have a free website if you want to show. There's different levels to the show, and it's what I do. I mean, I love, like I said, I love making people's light shine. I love the idea that I can put it out there that, what, Alan is not a devil worshiper. Jackie is a pizza worshiper. And it's what we do. It's what I do. And I love to make sure that people get to have that, even if it's for, the 2 hours that we're on, and it never happens again. These people get to have their light shone. And that's what I do. And, when it happens, it happens. And so like, if you want to help me out, go for it. Put a little bit, hit that donation button. But if you don't worry about it. I'm not going to be, swear I'm not going to not allow you back into my chat room, Jackie, if you don't order my pizza. There we go. Had to go to the food.
Like my wife and I, we publish my books, but at the same time, we have to pay for that. We have to pay for those books to be published,
Yeah,
it's just not free paper and free coloring and all that. We pay for a designer for the covers and everything, By the way, that designer that I mentioned was really good.
Yeah.
She's new and she's really good at it.
Well, put her links up on my Facebook page, because I did that once. I had a friend who was looking for a graphic artist to help design. I was looking for a graphic artist to help design something for my Facebook, for my website here, and I had a friend who does that, but his venue was with fairies and angels, and mostly fairies, but he couldn't do exactly what I wanted. But I had another friend who was looking to have some cards. She had for the longest time, she had a deck of cards she wanted to create, but she couldn't do the drawing. She couldn't do the graphic artist. So they connected on Facebook. They was like, here, Darlene, I'm looking for this. And I was like, ooh, speak to Bill. So Bill he's now done, I think 1 or 2 decks with her. They haven't sold yet because, unfortunately, decks are hard to publish again, like you do it. And to self-publish decks, like you say, for you to self-publish your books, it takes you, we'll say it takes you, $500 because you have to publish it, then you have to print it, and then everybody you get like, we'll say 2 dozen, and people want a copy of it, well, then you have to mail it out, and, so there's funds involved in that. So for my thing is if I can make sure that you get your books advertised on my show, then great. If your graphic artist can get advertised on then I'm good. I am what you call a shareaholic. So, and I'm proud to be one. So make sure you put a connection on the Facebook page for her.
I have about 16,000 friends on my social media boards and stuff. And so I posted your show about 3 times this weekend. So on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So hopefully your show got advertised too. But
well,
anyway.
Like I said, they may not get into the live chat room because the time zones and whatnots and what have you. Right now, we still have Jackie and Marie still in the chat room and one guest listening in. But there's archives, and if you can't be to this show, make sure you go and support other shows. There's Paramania Radio, there's Z-Talk Radio, there's Ghost Call Radio. There's so many places out there that have some really good and interesting shows that just listening to them help. Just listening, whether it's in the archives or in live. Like Facebook Lives these days are really a thing. I have a couple of friends who will be doing a Facebook Live in about a half an hour, and it's the beginning of their show. Once you get bit by the bug of being on air, it helps. If you're doing what you want to do. Like I said, for me, I want to shine people's light. I want to make sure that they, get that little extra boost. So why not? Well,
yeah.
Well,
you never know when you're going to really be able to help someone, too,
Exactly. I sit there and I go, and with each show, I know, without a doubt, I have helped one person. Your conversation, our conversation that we had, helped one person. And that's all I care about, one person. I may never know who it is. I may never know who it is, and it's not important. I just know that somebody got the help they needed, got a question answered, or got something that they needed out of the conversation that we. So that's.
I'm also a firm believer that everybody that we meet, are supposed to meet. Yep. There's nobody that comes into your life by accident.
Nope.
I'm a firm believer of it. There's a reason for it, and just like the designer there that we got, there's a reason why we met her, not only for designing book covers, but for other things too. I won't go into details, but it's every person that you meet, and if you go into it in the right way, you are supposed to meet that person, you know, and in the long run, you help each other.
Yeah. Exactly. Everybody is put into your path for a reason. You're not going to know. You may not figure it out until after they've left your life path there. But it's everybody is in our life for a reason. Jackie's in my life to torture me about pizza. I just looked up and I saw the chat room again. Well, on that note, Alan, I'm going to say good night. I'm going to say thank you very much for being on the show. And we will revisit again in 6 months and see what you have coming up. Never know. But again, if you have something to share, always message it to me on Facebook. And if it's something that needs to share your radio show, then I will very happily share it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me on your show, Mama D. I enjoy it. I love to talk. My wife tells me that I'm a storyteller, and she's getting tired of my stories, so I need new people, So.
There you go. You should do some Facebook Lives. There you go.
Yeah, really.
A bunch of new people listening to your stories.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciated it.
It was fun. Everybody have a great night. I have a young gentleman from New Zealand who will be my guest next week, so stay tuned for him. He's an interesting young man. And Alan, you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Night, everyone.